Ciao, welcome to Beatspot. I'm Marco, and in this video I want to talk about Excite Audio KSHMR Chain. So this is a plugin that at first, while seeing the commercial, didn't impress me much, but then when Excite Audio contacted me and proposed me to review it, I've been quite impressed. The plugin basically is structured within two instances. So we have chain leader and chain follower. So whatever you load in the chain leader will be synced to the chain follower depending on the group you are basically syncing. So now let's give a look at the chain leader. So here we have the presets, and so there isn't any preset because you actually have to make your own presets with your own plugins. Then we have the sync button that basically updates all the, all the chain followers to the changes that have been made to the chain leader. Now, each of these groups can be renamed. So let's say like hi-hat stuff, nice. And we'll see that the group A is named this way, and that's really great because we have up to 15 groups and recalling each stuff quickly wouldn't be as easy without this function. Now let's go with the rest of the GUI. Here we have add plugin. So here we have the browser, and the cool thing about it is that once you install the plugin, it scans through all your plugins in your computer and it kind of sorts them within this menu. And so the categorization, it's really smart. For example, on the dynamics, we have some stuff like the Sooth 2, I guess. So let's go Sooth 2, here we have it, but we also have it in the equalizer stuff. So some weird stuff, unique stuff that kind of matches both the categorization, it's in both categories. So now, another thing I want you to know is that each plugin is scanned for all the version that we have on the computer. So for example, AD Clip 7, we have both VST and AU version. We also have VST3. All the formats that we have are VST, VST3, and audio unit, which is component for basically Mac OS. Now let's load something. So I want to load maybe Pro C2. Then I want to go for an equalizer. So let's go with the solid Q. No, maybe we can go for the Pro Q3. Okay, and let's go with sync. Now I want link and go with group A, and here we have all the stuff. If I add something else like a reverb, so it instantly shows up in all the followers as well. Now let's give a look at all these instances. So we can just change the order. We can also make the GUI appear by double clicking or even by clicking once. This instead is the browser, so we can go back to the browser. Then here's the RMS, shows the change in RMS loudness caused by the plugin. So that's really great. So you can gain match the input and output, and this expands these controls. So here we have the input control, and then we have a dry and wet for the parallel, and we also have the on off. So the only thing I don't really like is that it's only dry and wet individual knobs. I would like something like a right click that allows me to go to dry wet, or having individual dry wet controls. Now let's open Pro C2. So here we can just like work with our plugin. Now let's work while listening to something. So now we see both compressor doing the same stuff because we have the chain leader and the chain follower on the same instrument. But let's move the chain follower to the flute, for example. So one doubt I initially had was that, especially for dynamic stuff, the behavior on the chain leader will be replicated on the followers, but these are basically different instances. And I want you to notice that when you touch the chain leader stuff, you have the chain follower actually following that thing. So let's move like the attack. Once you touch something on the follower, it's not changed in the leader, so you can actually kind of personalize the effects on each track. But if you touch it back on the leader, you have it syncing with it. So one important thing to know is that you can copy all your effects on all tracks, and on the follower, for example, you can change the attack without affecting the leader, but once you touch that parameter again on the leader, it will sync back up. So that's important to know. So you have to really understand when to touch the leader, because it will automatically affect all the other followers that you may have tweaked afterwards. Now let's continue with the interface. Here we have this expandable macro panel, and the macros are something that you can like control here. So let's say we want to map something to the macro one. We have macro one plugin. Let's make like Pro C2, and we want to adjust like the attack, and here we can control the range. Now let's go back to the main page. So here we can actually like limit the range of motion of the attack knob, and that's something that you can only do in the leader, because the follower doesn't have these macro stuff, but it shows everything in the macros matrix. So that's pretty much it for KSHMR Chain. So I really like it. I think the main use I will make of it will be like something of a non-linear summing console. So I want to load a Saturn or any other saturator at the very beginning of my chains. So I can just try and play with different input drives and see how the whole mix behaves with different warmth at the very beginning of the source of each of my tracks. So this plugin is great because at first it kind of looks like a plugin return track, but the great thing is that you can place the chain leader and the chain follower at any step of your signal flow. So not only at the very end of the audio track, but also in the middle or at the very beginning. And I think I will mostly use it at the beginning to kind of warm up all my stems in a mixing session and kind of play without having to swap and tweak all the stuff by hand, which is something I used to do. And I actually dropped that kind of practice because I didn't have such a tool that helped me speed up all this process. I used to kind of use a Saturn or a Console 7 Cascade and map it with my keyboard on the 0 key with Command K and stuff, and kind of copy and paste that effect on all my tracks, and then just use like the 0 button to bypass and reactivate the plugin and see the difference. But then fine-tuning was really time-consuming. So I think I'll get back re-experimenting that technique with these plugins, so that's really great. I also appreciate the plugin categorization. That's really nice because that helps a lot with going through your plugins, especially if you have many of them. For example, I made a plugin hierarchy within my system folder, but that doesn't always translate well in Ableton browser, so it shows up only in the VST folder, but not in VST3 and the audio component, so that was kind of useless. And now with this plugin, I can just recall my plugins way faster. Currently, my only concern with it is how much CPU usage it encourages. So I don't know if it will ever make my session like clip, glitch, and stuff. So with that being said, the only upgrade I would like to see is the dry wet stuff, but that's it. I really like this plugin. So this is it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it and see you in the next one.